Welcome back to Heal, Healing, Empowering, Accepting, and Living, a podcast sponsored by Change by Fire. So grateful to have you a part of this ongoing journey as we continue to really dive into those topics of burn healing, any areas of struggle, of strength, and really find ways to seek and build additional connection, healing, and growth throughout all the spaces. My name is Lori Janik, and I am a 15-year burn advocate, social worker, and current holistic trauma therapist.
And I'm Jen Severance, and I am a burn survivor since 2017. And welcome to our podcast. So last episode 3 of this season, was Partners in Burn Healing when multiple roles combine, exploring the impact of the burn injury on a relationship with spouse, partner, the fears and changes that might affect relationship functioning, the impact of dual roles of advocate and caregiver and parent and partner, and our Q&A with Justin Perro, partner of a burn survivor, Ashley, who we saw on a previous episode, and his words of wisdom in growing and maintaining a healthy relationship through injury. Now, have you guys tried out our takeaway technique from last time? It was returning to safety and envisioned your safe place, your safe persons to guide your felt sense of connection in relationships forward. We would love to hear about your experiences in any aspect. This episode, we are going to pivot to a new relationship often impacted by burn healing, that of the children. Just how do children understand a parent's burn injury? How does it impact the parent-child relationship? Let's dig a little deeper to discover more insights here, and let's get healing.
So a burn injury is something that truly impacts the entire family, both in those practical ways of functioning as well as more the social, the emotional. For example, when an injury initially happens, the entire family dynamic can change. Who's watching, who's caring for the child, how school happens, how hospital visits go, the variation of attention and attunement to needs, spouse, partner, children, others surrounding. And often there's a lot of less understanding and explanation that happens due to really shock and that survival way of operating that many parents or adults are at that time or that moment. So on a social emotional level, if we look at parents who are burn survivors, many parents in that burn survivor role can show up in a sense of guilty or helpless. They can't fill their role as they may want. They can be separated from their children and their needs unexpectedly. Kids can feel really frightened, really scared about burn appearance, changes in functioning, and they may witness other people or even themselves at times responding in fear, in disgust, and teasing. And those are really hard things to say, but also very real things that happen. And in some families, kids can communicate really openly about injuries, which can be really therapeutic. But in other families, their emotions, their questions might be silenced, might be unanswered for a variety of reasons. And as children learn many of their patterns and behaviors from their parents, how their feelings, how that's all understood through a burn injury is vitally important.
Mm-hmm. And not only can a child misinterpret or misunderstand a parent's burn injury, and that affect their growth or development and healing, but a parent with a burn injury can also parent or show up very differently for their children post-injury. And many parents with burn injuries can be more more anxious parents and focused on extra protection for their children against life's dangers and how they experience the world. Other parents can step away somewhat from their parenting role through an injury due to fear, anger, shock, leaving the child to more fend for themselves or make sense of what's going on themselves. Other parents are able to maintain a similar approach in parenting regardless of the injury and be honest with children about their injury, what happened, help them grasp the reality of dangers and the strength in facing the tasks of healing. This is ideal, of course, but recognize we will all show up in whatever patterns of danger and facing that are possible for ourselves and our systems. You can speak more to the scientific part of our systems.
I think just in part because this is the walk career-wise that I've chosen, but I'm also just fascinated by patterns and how we show up and how our patterns really carry over in the relationships that we're in. For example, and especially parent and children have a lot of patterning that occurs within. Children will tend to respond to the patterns of their parents. So for example, if a parent is operating in a very dorsal state, they feel very helpless, they feel very empty, they feel very checked out because of whatever's going on in their life, a child will respond to that and may pick up those same cues or heighten the cues that they give their parents so that they can get the attention, the nurturing that they need. Or they may kind of try and match it. Same thing as if a parent is in a very kind of anxious, volatile state, more what I like to call that sympathetic state, then a child may either patterns show up similarly or find ways to try and help kind of bring them a sense of calm or support them. So just recognize how interconnected parents and children can be. So I feel especially parents as burn survivors being very mindful of attuning to themselves and their own needs and a sense of safety and connection in the midst of showing up for their children is highly important, because how you attune to you and take care of you and operate from a lens of safety is what's going to support the approach, the interaction of your children. And with kids, I think in addressing and understanding the healing of their parent, of their loved one, being really honest about it, being honest and being able to approach them in their level of development and the level of timing. So I'm going to go through a few different stages for those of you who are listening who may be a parent and have your own children, to kind of be mindful of how you show up for them, but also for those, who are working with, who know of burn survivors, helpful information, I think, to be aware of developmentally. So kids of those infant toddler stages often respond best to that sense of touch contact. So if they can hear their parent's voice, that sing-song tone, low tones, have a sense of holding or touch with that burn survivor, that's very helpful in their broaching of an initial injury, because that signals, again, that sense of familiarity, that sense of safety. For that preschool age, this age of children, they can actually be prepared to visit parents in the hospital. With that help of, we have some amazing child life teams that are in many hospitals with the use of developmental language, play, to kind of match, understand, provide a grasp of what they might see. And same goes for that school-age children. So they may need a little lesser prep or a lesser kind of medical play early on. But maybe with that age, having more of an opportunity to hear about the injury, know about, what are the needs, what's happening in the hospital, what is therapy, what is dressing changes, and ask questions, highly invaluable, because they're included in that process, which makes it feel safer, makes it feel more of a sense of, wholeness in that family unit. And so notice the value in attuning to each child, their specific temperament, their desires, their support needs. There may be some kids that are like, I don't want to go to the hospital. I don't want to go to the clinic. I don't want to be a part of this. So maybe they can be included, involved in other ways, by sending pictures, by sending letters, supporting, maintaining connection. So remember, the key with children is their sense of safety and connection that they yet can have in the relationship. Ironically, very similar to the burn survivor needs as well. You want safety, you want connection again. So not only do these concrete examples and visits of love and support, child to parent, parent to child, like I think they provide that encouragement on both ends, that the family unit can again be restored, that a child still has connection with their parent, and they encourage that parent survivor in healing. So really just an overall understanding, connection, familiarity with the process as well.
Yeah. And one of the greatest values of maintaining relationships through healing is really that sense of valuing overall communication, questions, and feelings. For children, they need to know that their burn survivor, parent, partner, family is physically and emotionally safe.
Mm-hmm.
They need to be able to have their feelings heard and believed surrounding the injury and healing process, even if we do not understand them ourselves. Remember, children are very egocentric from a very young age. Encouraging and allowing for feelings expression early on can minimize acting out in harmful or hurtful ways. It gives permission for the children to feel and really address the common fears of unsafety, further separation, helplessness. Children are such an important part of the family relationship, and we must recognize and value how we include them in care support needs and healing, and support their understanding and sense of belonging in the family amidst changing dynamics. So when children are allowed to be part of the healing process with their burn survivor parent, they maintain a sense of belonging and support in the family.
I'm hearing lots of inclusion, lots of connection, and I think there's a value too to exploring the voices of kids throughout the healing process. Like, where are they at? What's going on with them? Like, what might they need? And we are fortunate today to have a few children, teenagers of a burn survivor here with us to share a little bit more about their perspectives and insights from being, the child of a burn survivor in healing. And so I want to welcome Jace and Emmy. And they're actually the daughters of a burn survivor and her partner, Ashley and Justin Perro, that we spoke with on previous episodes. So thank you guys so much for being willing and able to be present, to be attentive, and to allow us to explore a little bit more about your perspective of your mom and her healing.
Yay, welcome.
So what do you all know? And I'm going to let you guys decide which one of you might want to speak first or how you want to share. What do you know about your mom's burn injury? I mean, what do you remember about what you were told about it, or when you first heard about it, or even first realized? Because I believe you guys were both No,
they weren't even.
They weren't even born yet.
Your
it was
mom
before they were born.
Was your mom from the very beginning, as she is.
I can go first because I know a lot.
You both get an opportunity.
My mom was actually 16 when she got into a car crash. She actually got in a car crash with another truck driver. An incident happened. She was also in a truck, and it was a Ford. And her gas tank actually it exploded. So her whole car got engulfed with flames, and she was stuck in there. And we're very fortunate that she was able to get to the hospital in time. She was just engulfed with flames. She had to get multiple skin patches. She was just burned. There was blood. There was a lot. The doctor actually said she wouldn't be able to see or hear, and we're very fortunate because God actually gave her the will to have her see, and so it's very fortunate. Actually, my mom actually, she didn't get the chance to actually enjoy the rest of her life as, because of what happened. So it was very difficult for her. She did lose many friends, but, in general, it was pretty difficult. And the incident really, when she told me about it, it really like affected me a little bit. Like, I'm sorry that this happened, just the pain that she went through. It's a lot. Yeah, so I don't remember when I was told the story of what happened, but they didn't really hide it from us. They didn't really not talk about it. Like if we asked, they would probably tell us. But I never asked about it because my mom, that was just what she looked like. I didn't think much of it. I didn't think oh, that's different or anything. So I mean, she told me the story. I'm not sure when, but it was really sad and stuff, but I don't know a lot because we weren't born yet. And she's just always been that way. It's just oh yeah.
Yeah. That's pretty cool. Like she was your mom and that was it. And so as you were growing up, what was your understanding of burns growing up? Like what did you know about them? How did you feel about your mother's appearance? And did you see her as being any different than other parents or more limited?
I saw her as more like something special to me because she's still my mom. She's been there for me. She took care of me, and really she wasn't really in my eyes, she wasn't really different compared to other moms because she did the same things for me. It's just her skin was different, and that was the only different thing. But I never saw anything different in her at all. She was still the same motherhood person to me. She did, the same motherly things. Just it was her skin that made it different. I saw nothing wrong at all. Just different. My understanding of burns was if it has to be a certain degree and stuff all that. That's why it happens. That's why there's marks on her. Because of course I was kind of curious as they're why they just can do that. She's oh, so but I don't know. I've never seen her differently. Especially since her burn happened before we were born. I was it's just that's just mom. She's just understanding was it could affect some things. It cause her to go to the hospital and affect different parts of her. But other than that, it's didn't see her differently at all. It's just my mom. I actually thought it was pretty cool as a kid.
Cool.
I also want to give a bonus to my dad because he thought nothing wrong with her either.
Yeah.
And he appreciated her as who she was, didn't ask about, maybe he did, but I don't know. He didn't really worry about her scars. She appreciated who she was in the inside.
Yes.
And didn't really, judge her. She appreciated her, so.
I think that's such a great example of, what we were even talking about before about patterning. Your dad provided such a wonderful pattern of, no, I'm going to see you guys as mom. I'm going to see her as a whole person. She is who she is. This is just, a part of her. And you guys similarly were able to and have been able to really welcome and embrace. She's my mom. That's who I see her first and foremost before any of these things. And it's just really a skin issue. And what an amazing blessing and opportunity, both for you guys to have that perspective of an individual and of differences. A different individual doesn't make them any better, any worse. They still have all the characteristics that they come to. And I think you've been able to really embrace your mom in that measure, which is hugely valuing to her as well, I imagine. So sometimes kids, spouses, family members can be involved and included in burn care and supports and healing. So sometimes, I know your mom has had to go through a variety of different surgeries and care and supports. And sometimes people are able to come to the hospital or to go to camps or go to different events and sometimes not. So what has your experience been in being any part of the burn community, your mom's healing, and what have you found helpful and maybe what not as helpful, if anything?
don't know. Okay, well, I don't know what to say.
Okay.
Basically, I know she has she goes to events, year's events, with all these things to support people, which I like those actually. It's really positive. But the hospital stuff, I just know she always was in the hospital. It feels like it used to feel like every month sometimes. They just feel oh, mom's back in the hospital. It's oh, at some point it just becomes less shocking. Why mom in the hospital? But now it's oh, was it this again? And they're yeah.
Are you able to visit her there?
Yeah.
So how has that been for you? Do you find that
mostly
helpful?
it's not all the time. It's mostly my dad that goes and visit her, because normally it happens at around nighttime. So most of us are all asleep when it happens. So we do go visit her though. I remember going when I was younger to visit her in the hospital.
Sure.
Usually, because we'd wake up and be "Where's mom?" In the hospital. We're gonna go visit her. This day.
Nice.
But yeah, we did get to visit her. We just got to visit her. We didn't visit her super often, but when she would first go in the hospital, we'd be all right, we go visit her.
Yeah, for sure. And I know your mom has been throughout her life. She goes periodically to get things done. So I'm sure there are a lot of times where you guys are doing your own thing and mom just goes off and gets things done. So, but it's really, I'm sure she appreciates the times that you're able to visit. For sure. So you guys, let's see. What was it like for you guys growing up? I know, you always knew mom as mom, but coming back to these hospital visits and different events, did your mom's burn injury impact your schedule and your routines and your friendships? Was there any impact there on your lives?
Not really, for me at least. I mean, honestly, when people sometimes I'll even forget to mention that she's a burn survivor because that's just normal.
Yeah.
Sometimes people are dude, what happened? And I'm oh, she's just a burn survivor. Pretty cool. I was oh. I thought it was pretty neat. I used to when I was younger, I'd be yeah, my mom's a burn survivor. Pretty cool.
It is kind of cool. She's a rock star. She's a survivor.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's I it's just normal to me, and sometimes my friends are whoa, what happened? I'm oh yeah. But I'm trying to remember what's the question. I got kind of sidetracked.
Well, just how all of your, was it your dad that kind of took the reins a little sometimes when your mom wasn't able to? You talked about your friendships and any impact that had, but yeah.
A lot of times, because usually our mom's the one who does a lot of stuff. Because he goes to work,
she's a mom.
She goes, yeah. So whenever she's gone or in the hospital, he always has to do that stuff, and that's always super different. And definitely that's it, because it's they're completely different when it comes to especially different things. Mom might be really patient, dad is not patient. That's always really rough. But
Jace, do you feel the same way? Different parenting styles?
My dad has like she said, they're completely different. My dad has major OCD. If there's dishes in the sink, he has to clean it up. And then my mom, on the other hand, my dad will hand wash everything. On the other hand, my mom will just put it in the dishwasher. Yeah. So
let the dishwasher do it.
Yeah. But in general, speaking of friendships, I think if they my friends bring up my mom or something because they notice what she is and what her skin is I normally say oh, she's a burn survivor. And nowadays most of my friends all think that's cool because you don't see that very often.
No.
It's nowadays his cars are built to be more intact and not be able to blow up like her car did. So nowadays it's kind of more safer. So it's not as common as it should be. I think, right? I think.
Well, sure.
Well, seeing it nowadays is not as common. I'll just put it like that. Seeing it I mean, it's not as common because I don't see it very often.
No, I think, as a burn survivor, I can attest that I only know other burn survivors because of our community. You know, it's not something you see walking around every day. So yeah, she's unique, and and I'm sure with all of the new friends that come in, you guys have a moment with each of your new friends of kind of explaining why your mom's skin looks the way it does.
But also,
that makes sense.
Also, like how cool that, and how you explain, and it's kind of again like embraced and welcome. Oh, that's cool. And like a sense of like uniqueness and honor versus like any teasing or minimization. I think that's a really cool aspect. And it sounds too like both of you have found some sense of safety in the world, you know, post that, even just commenting on, well, cars are different, or we don't see like as many of these things. So I think that that's a very valuable thing to recognize, is even in the midst of something very big, very scary, very horrendous happening to your mom, like there's more of you can find, you know, the safety outside of that. She is healing. She is mom. She is kind of moving forward. And we also don't see a bunch of others like her to that level of devastation. So it's kind of cool that you've also been able to find some sense of safety in the world as well, too. Mm-hmm. So some families talk really openly about burns, feelings, needs, and healing, and others really struggle with communication around kind of what's going on, what's happening. How has your family dealt with your mom's ongoing healing processes? And do you feel like you've been able to share your emotions and your needs throughout? Like, for example, if your mom is in the hospital, comes back home, has additional like support needs, do you feel like you can still notice and mention yours too?
Typically, like when I was younger, I remember when she did come home from the hospital or when she wasn't feeling well, she'd be laid up in bed and it'd be like, our needs were like cared for from dad after that. Like she is like it's almost like she is like in the hospital because she's like off limits. I remember that when we were younger, we used to bother her a lot. So we still do. Yeah.
Did you say we still do?
Yeah, so it's like whenever she is sick or like sleeping or something, my dad's like, I'm like, oh, where's mom? He's like sleeping. Don't bother her. I'm like, oh. So, yeah, I mean, our needs were cared for by our dad when she wasn't available. So overall, I think it's just like, it was normal, just, you know, slight change in schedule, slight change in like plans, etc., all that.
Yeah.
Do you feel the same, Jace?
Yeah, I do feel that, you know, when she isn't available, which back when I was younger, it happened a lot. Mm-hmm. And I did feel like my dad or like my older sister was there for us like a lot most of the time. And then when my dad had work, he wasn't really there. So my older sister would be there taking care of us. Mm-hmm. And I felt like I appreciated her on that and everything. So it's not just like my dad because my dad could also be unavailable. Mm-hmm. So be my older sister taking care of us.
That's a great point. It's just as a family, how much you've had to bond together.
Yeah, rely on each other. So not everybody sees differences the same, as you likely recognize and have discovered. And I'm sure there are some people who choose to tease or shame or be hurtful to someone who is different. I would like to think that you haven't had that experience regarding your mom, but have you been through that experience with your mom? As a burn survivor myself, I know sometimes like you'll be walking through the store and you'll be aware of people's eyes or I don't know if anyone's ever spoken out, but what have you found helpful to share and as far as responding back to someone who might kind of have a negative response?
Typically, like whenever people do notice, it's mostly just staring. Yeah. Like staring, maybe like being like, oh, that's gross or something. But usually it's just like my mom's used to it. Yeah. You know, she's been like this forever, so it's like I don't think I've ever encountered someone who was It's not me with her. I've never had someone actually like come and say something.
Mm-hmm.
Good.
I know she has had people do that to her. I think that happened recently once where someone said something really rude. But usually doesn't affect her. Usually she's just like, okay, well, I don't care, you know? Or like, probably she said something ruder because, you know.
Right back at you.
Because she does get that to times. I know in high school she had a lot of people come up to her and say really horrible things to her.
High school.
That is such a rough age, I think, to have any type of injury happen. Like any of those, and both of you guys are in those teenage phases where it's like people can be really cruel and hurtful. And a lot of ways is to feel better about themselves, but that doesn't make it right.
Oh yeah, a lot of times people, especially in high school, they're really like criticizing on like everything. So I know that was really rough for her. But you know, usually it's just like if someone does come to us or does say something to her, it's usually just like, okay, well.
Yeah, just kind of like on the high school note, bullying in general. Like you just have to let it go.
Yeah, so yeah, it's usually just my experience. It's usually just staring, especially from little kids, because they don't know what's going on. They're just low.
Yep.
So, my mom actually has lost many friends, but she has a few friends that have stuck for a while. Us three as daughters, we do notice she gets stared at a lot.
Yeah.
Some of us three as daughters notice, and sometimes we want to do something, sometimes we want to say something back, like something mean, but my mom actually holds us back from doing that because she knows that it's not going to end well if you do that. And also like what Emmy said, she's used to it, but like in our eyes, since we're not burn survivors, it's different because we don't get that same like eye look, you know, the stare. That's what she does. But since she's a family member, you know, as daughters, it's kind of like you get that like that feeling where you want to do something and but you can't because
you want to be protective.
Yeah, you want to respond back. You want to like, well, wait a minute, like this is not right. You want to fight. You want to protect the person you care about.
Definitely more on her part. What? No. Yeah. Definitely her. That's always her. Because I remember a specific time where Jesus was like, I gotta say something. And we're just like, no, don't say something. They're not saying anything to you. It's whatever.
Jace has the protective energy I'm feeling.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. Oh no, I definitely say something. I glare back.
Oh, Matt,
I understand that because I've had like even with other people like glare at you and be like, what are you doing? I'm just like, what are you looking at? I pull off a really good RBF face, so my parents actually bully me for it. So
RBF.
I actually get bullied for it. So like people actually like when I do it to them, if I get glared at or like stared at, I actually do it to them, and then they immediately look away.
Well, I mean, as a parent, like I can definitely say like there is a power in a look. So if you figured out how to give this look now to kind of, hey, back off without saying hurtful or unkind things, I don't think that's a horrible thing.
Nope.
Speaking of protectiveness, I can actually see daughters being more protective over their mother than I can be of a brother. But like in words wise, I can see that. But in fight wise, I can see it with a brother. But yeah. But I'm like that protective daughter. I will say something.
It's a role that you've assumed in that family that provides you some sense of, I think, inclusion and purpose.
If I always tell myself I may not be able to fight, but I'd say something. Just to protect my mother because she's different. Since she's different, that doesn't give the fact that people should look at her that way. They should appreciate that she survived and that the only way she looks like that is because she had that horrible incident, but she survived. So that's like, I feel like you should appreciate about that instead of like glaring at her just because her skin looks different, because her face looks different, because she has scars on her. I feel like, you know, you shouldn't do that to someone, especially if, you know, because they're different.
Yeah.
I mean, like that person that is glaring at you could always have a different perspective without we or someone knowing. So I don't understand why you should get that back, you know?
Yeah. Well, I think also you have
Everyone's
to
different.
think about the person that's looking, because I think a lot of times people don't realize the look they have on their face. And their mind might just be processing, oh, look at that lady. I wonder what happened to her. Oh my goodness. You know, their mind could be going and they don't realize that they're going, you know.
Oh yeah,
So
their face, their mouth,
sometimes,
and their eyes
you can see.
closed.
So sometimes maybe I will look at them almost with kindness, you know, to say, I see you looking. And it can kind of snap them back to like, oh, sorry, I'm interacting with other human beings here. You know, I think sometimes people don't necessarily realize the look that they have on their face.
A lot of people are not fully aware of what they're doing.
I've certainly done that where I don't realize I'm so in my own little bubble processing the world around me. I might not know what kind of look I have on my face. So there's that to look at too, is we can't necessarily know what these onlookers are thinking, but when we engage with them, we can try to do it with kindness, unless they come at us, right, girls?
I love that reminder, though, in terms of perception, and we don't know what's going on in someone else's body and someone else's brain space, and it could be very different than what their facial expressions are communicating. And so there is a value to having a little bit of softness in your face, having like a gentle smile that you respond back, and bringing a little bit of gentleness into the situation. If you could share any words of wisdom and understanding to others about, you know, burn injuries, a kid's experience through a burn injury, what do you girls think you might say? And like, if there's any future support needs for those who are kids of burn survivors, what might they be? So A, what wisdom would you want to share to others who might be in a similar place like you? And B, do you think there's any additional needs for healing, for support, for inclusion?
Yeah, so I don't got this one. What I think is like, it may be like different at first, especially for people who just go through this and have kids. So it's got like, they can see the before and after, and depending on how bad it is, it might be more different, might be less different, it depends. But eventually you get used to it. I mean, like, if something changes, it's weird at first, sometimes scary, but like, it gets better eventually. And it's like, it may still affect today, but you gotta like adapt to it almost. You do eventually, just kind of automatically, but depends on how everyone is.
They're still your parent.
Yep.
That's what I'm hearing. They're still your parent. They may look a little different. The timing of healing and just the needs they have right now may pull them away from you in some way, shape, or form, or kind of adjust how they can show up for you, but they're still your parent. That part hasn't changed.
Yeah. Jace, any closing words?
Yeah, I think if I had to say something wisdom-like, I'd say being different is good. Because that means you're not like the rest of the people, and you're not the same as like the rest of the people. You're unique in your own way, and you're just your own self.
That's an awesome thing to say for everybody, that we should really embrace our differences. Thank you. That was cool. Well, girls, oh my gosh. Thank you so much for your time, your words, your stories, your insights, just being here and being you and giving us an idea of what it's like to have a cool, awesome mother and dad like you guys do. Truly, your voice allows for a greater understanding of all that encompasses a burn injury and healing for the families.
And as in every podcast episode, we always like to have a little takeaway technique, something that you can take, that you can share, that you can value whatever topic that we worked on. And these techniques are really to give you an idea of how you can further your healing, further your feeling. And feelings is actually kind of what the focus of this one is today. So this takeaway is something I like to call feelings and family photos. And it can be something applicable to a variety of ages. It can be applicable to if your parent, if your survivor is in the hospital or in a clinic setting, or if they're home with you. And so again, adapt it to what you might need, to what might be helpful, but it's meant to build a little bit of communication and a little bit of connection. So what you might need for this activity, if it's something you want to do with us now, or if you want to keep in mind, save for later, you're going to need something to write with. That could be crayons, colored pencils, markers, pens, and you're going to need something to write on. That could be paper, colored paper, regular paper, whatever it might be. And so you're going to start out, and if this is something you're walking a child through, you can encourage them to do this, or you yourself can do this. So you're going to draw a loose body shape, kind of like a gingerbread man, or a loose body shape. And you're going to just start exploring, how are you feeling today? And maybe this is something you explore with a child before they go to a hospital, before they go to a clinic, when their loved one comes home. Okay, this is you. Show me how you feel today? What's going on right now? And you encourage that child, or again, if this is you yourself doing it, you can also similarly as adult parallel, explore the use of colors, words, shapes to represent how you're feeling. And this is meant to give a little bit of conversation topic. For example, as a parent, I noticed there's a lot of red right there. Tell me about that red. What's going on there? Or as you yourself, I know I see things in a lot of realms of color, and there's constantly a black jumbly feeling in my stomach that I like to say is when I get really nervous about things. So tell me about that black jumbly feeling. So we can do this with ourselves as adults, but also super valid with kids. Super important. Validate and express a belief in and a sense of okay with what that child identifies. Oh, that black fuzzy right there, you're sad. What's it like to be sad for you? How do you feel you're sad? Or that jumbly yellow that's in the brain. Tell me about that jumbly yellow. Can you tell me about that? Oh, that's happy. That area in your head is really happy right now. What is that like for you? Again, belief and okay. And notice that sense of connection you're establishing there. You're establishing with that child. You're establishing with yourself if it's something you're doing. And then you can expand on this. So if you're in the context of a family, how about we add the other people that are a part of our family here? And allowing, again, a sense of choice. Lots of times in injuries, especially when injuries affect kids, parents, families, that choice is taken away. So let's see if we can add some choices back in. Can we put the other people of our family here? Where might they go? What do you think is going on inside them? What might you want to add to this picture? What would make it feel safer to you? Again, adding that choice, adding that sense of safety. Are there any colors? Are there any patterns that you want to place there? And maybe do we want to add a message? And maybe this is a message to your loved one who's a survivor. What do you think this picture says? What do you want this picture to say? What would you want to say to this person? So notice here the value of you're expressing feelings, connection, communication. You have the family as a whole here. What a valuable piece for a survivor to receive in the hospital, receive in a home setting, that sense of understanding of what's going on. Such a value here, and a creative way to really utilize play, creativity, which is much more the language of children, to find a sense of communication, connection, understanding.
Yeah, and to elicit a discussion, like you said, where it's not just, oh, this is a pretty picture, thank you.
There's such a value to that exploration.
It's pretty cool. Yeah, to be able to have a way to find out more about what does this drawing mean to you. I like that.
That's the therapy side of me and the side of me that's worked with numerous children. Like, I always love to tell me more. I think there's such a value to when you can explore and when you can allow someone to utilize their words and to share with you, because then you get to be actively listening and reflecting and supporting, and again, helping build their confidence, their understanding, their growth too.
Yep. All right, everybody. Well, it's about time for us to end this episode. Changed by Fire is a 501(c) nonprofit committed to helping burn survivors and their families cope and thrive in life after a burn, emotionally, psychologically, and socially, utilizing alternative healing methods such as EFT, equine therapy, burn scar massage, yoga, aromatherapy, meditation, breathwork, and more. We are excited to provide regular community events in Arizona to enhance relationships and community, as well as actively building out our website to showcase even more virtual supports and offerings as well. So check us out at www.changedbyfire.org. And if you're interested in being on the podcast, sharing your tools for healing, your story, or if you're a practitioner or a volunteer that wants to reach out and help us out in our mission, please reach out to us as always.
And we also have upcoming in March. So March every year, this will be our 6th annual Arizona Walk of Courage. So it's going to be March 23rd at Rio Vista Community Park in Peoria, Arizona. If you are local, if you're a part of Arizona, if you want to come to Arizona that time, please come participate. We have a few different race options. We also have virtual options. Great way to spread awareness, show support, connect with a greater sense of community, burn survivors, others, families in healing. We would love to have you. And until next time, heal. Help recognize and value the children that are a part of your healing process. Now, these could be your kids, these could be nieces, nephews, other kids impacted, walked with along the way. Recognize again the importance of inclusion and their perspective as well too. Engage them. So engage them as possible in visits, questions, communications, attune to their needs. Allow them to have their feelings. And leaning together as a family to support a greater sense of honesty, understanding, communication, and strength in the journey forward. Until next time, we'll see you soon.
See you soon.